Hey everyone, before we start this video, I just wanted to say that this is a little bit of a longish video, so I do hope you watch it to the end because we do cover quite a few topics here in regards to the principle of what's actually happening here and what should have been done, what could have been done to avoid this, and the fact that the consumer in itself has a right to a refund, and the fact that the consumer is actually in a position where they are entitled to a refund, because what essentially Sony has done here is fraud, because they have promised a product and delivered something and sold it under false pretenses. So if you do make it to the end of the video, I really appreciate it, because there's a lot of context in the middle and towards the end, and a lot of kind of circling back to kind of send that message home. So hopefully you'll make it to the end and you'll enjoy the video. Right, that's it. On with the video. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video where today we're again talking about Stellar Blade. And this time it's actually, happening. Refunds are beginning to go out. If this picture here is anything to go by now, this was taken from a Reddit post from what we understand. And it is essentially just coming from Sony, someone basically getting their confirmation, where it says, "Hi, thank you for contacting PlayStation support. We have reviewed your case and approved your refund in the amount of USD 8547. Now, essentially what is happening here is that the refunds are being given back on the basis that the game was sold under false pretenses. Now, it's no secret that Stellar Blade has been one of those games where, quite frankly, it has been sold on its sexualization. The character Eve was over-sexualized and was promoted as pretty much as humanly possible, with a scantily clad outfits. The demo didn't try to hide anything and did a great job in trying to sell the game based on pure sex appeal. Then, of course, the news came out that Stellar Blade will be uncensored in all regions, including the Japanese version. Now, obviously, Japan has a little more stringent laws when it comes to censorship, but this was great news for people and was pretty much all they needed to cement their decision in purchasing the game, because they wanted an uncensored version. But this is basically why this is happening, and I think the community has every right to get a refund. At the end of the day, if you were going to censor your game, don't come out with a statement that basically tells people that the game has been uncensored. Now, do I think it's, people have gone overboard? That's my opinion. I think yes. And I still believe that there are other reasons why this is happening, because there are other outfits in this that pretty much dictate that, in terms of censoring, there seems to be more to it. But that's beside the point here. The fact is, you've come out and made this statement. Stellar Blade will be uncensored in all regions. The moment you make that statement, you know that you cannot go back from this. That's like 100% statement that everyone is going to hold against you. And they did. Now, I know you've got some people out there like Nib saying it doesn't matter. The demo was the demo and the final version of the outfit. And we're going to hear from the director himself soon, because even he tries to confirm that, the final version of these outfits was something that they decided needed changing before the game came out, and it wasn't, what we saw wasn't the final release. That's just not good enough. If it's not ready for people to see, don't show it. If you show something that is overly revealing and people get excited and Jimmy and whatever, and they want it, and then you turn around and say you can't have it, but you don't tell them this before the game comes out, and you sneak in a patch, that's seen as a scummy tactic, and people are rightfully upset about this. It's not that, I think what the developers did was right. I think with being a couple of outfits, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but that's my personal opinion. Not everyone has to abide by that, but I do get the principle. I do get the principle behind why people are wanting to get the refund, because at the end of the day, they were lied to. And no matter how you want to sugarcoat this, That's the point, right? So here you've got Stellar Blade's official account as well, saying Stellar Blade offers the same uncensored version in all territories, including the Japanese version. So they basically sold this game, and marketed it purely on the sexualization of the character. Even at the start, the way she comes out, it's fully, embracing just how attractive this character is. And there is nothing wrong with that. I'm actually perfectly okay with that. This just brings me back to the good old days of like Lara Croft and the PS2 games, where this used to be so much in front of us, and no one batted an eye. And no one batted an eye this time when they played the demo. But the reality is, they are selling it based on this. People are buying this game, not on the merits that it's like a Nier Automata game. I mean, there probably is some, like myself, who bought it on that basis. They're not buying it for the combat. They're buying it because they want to be running around with a hot, attractive character and play it in the way it was intended to be played. Or just play it in a butt-naked way. And if the game ever comes out on PC, well, the mods are going to make fix of this anyway, so what's the point? But you have Rurikon here saying you're entitled to a refund. I think you're more than entitled to a refund. I think the fact that you bought it under false pretenses means you have every right for a refund. It is false advertising, which falls under fraud. It's really that simple. You feel you didn't get the product you were advertised. Exactly. They advertised this game in a certain way to appeal to a certain demographic, and they succeeded in appealing to that demographic. Therefore, this game deserves, to keep what it was advertised for. You're not getting what was advertised. I would just like to point out, you're refunding a game that has gorgeous visuals. It does. It has good visuals. I wouldn't say gorgeous, but it does have good visuals. Launched with flawless performance. I'll agree with that. Well, I wouldn't say flawless. I've seen a few places, even in performance mode, where the frames have dipped a little, but for the most part, it's flawless. Gameplay is amazing, except for the parrying. The parrying still needs some work. The input latency is very annoying. And considering this is a game all about perfect parrying and getting those counter moves in, that input delay is really, really punishing. I can tell you that much. It's got a sexy female lead, which we probably haven't had one in such a long time, which is why this one was appealing so much. I love the fact that there is no microtransactions in this, and the fact that all cosmetics are unlockable. But these are the two that I really care about. No MTX and unlockable cosmetics. I really hope that what's happening now doesn't impact that later down the line. And we've got Hazardor Gaming here. PlayStation is offering refunds for Stellar Blade if you claim false advertising as the reason. And this is false advertising. There's no switch. I know there are a lot of people trying to defend this. You cannot. And there are a lot of influencers, non-influencers on X right now that are trying to defend this. You cannot. Even if one item is changed, and that item is changed and made to be censored or covered up, as is the case that we're just going to see, reality is that product is now sold under false pretenses because they promised this game would be uncensored in all regions. Now here's the impact that we're talking about. These are the two outfits in question. Now I thought it was just this one, but there's apparently this one as well. But if we go to the next screen now, you'll see this over here. So this is it basically enlarged. And as you can see, this is the non-censored version. The censored version basically has her boobs basically covered up here. That's essentially what's happened. I mean, everything else from glancing at it personally, I can see has remained the same. The only cover up here has been the breast window, which is over here, the boob window. That has been covered up. Now, if we look at the actual other outfit here, you can clearly see that the line, the leg line goes higher here. It's way lower here, right? And then you've also got this bit here completely covered up. So that's the two outfits that have been changed. And of course, it's not that big of a deal. That's not the point. This one is straight up censorship, period. End of story. This one I still believe is the case. But again, that's not the point. The point is that it was censored when they promised it wouldn't. So that falls under false advertising. You've also got stuff like this. And, you know, the person is saying, imagine not being happy with these designs and raging despite the game being really well made and fun. Again, people are missing the point here. The point is, they said that this game would be uncensored. That is not a creative design. That is the game being censored. You know, there's really no other way to really kind of portray this. And unfortunately, it is a thing that has happened. I mean, if you're looking at the other outfits, you know, this one, again, doesn't have that high leg line. Doesn't have the high leg line. Even this one doesn't have the high leg line. Sure, people are using this a lot right now, but it doesn't have that high leg line. This one doesn't either. So that high leg line that you had here has completely been taken out of the game entirely. Now, obviously, this one exists, and this is the one that really throws the whole censorship into question. But it's really weird why they changed these two. But at the end of the day, it's irrelevant. They promised something, and people have a right to a refund. Now, I actually said this during my stream as well, when someone asked, can Sony be sued about this? And I said, you know, a class action lawsuit could possibly be attained because they lied in order to sell a product. They sold a product under false pretenses. Even if it is just 2 suits, it's sold under false pretenses. Now, again, you've got I think that's the producer here coming out to talk about it, but this is essentially the second costume, as you can see, being censored. Honestly, I think they should have just left this out. Honestly, just leave it the way it is. There's literally no reason. You can't see a nipple. You really can't see anything. It's literally just a silhouette. I mean, it wasn't worth the drama that it's created. They really should just revert the patch. They really should. It's literally just not worth it. Now, this is the actual video, basically is doing the rounds, and let's just listen to it for a second. It's only 40 seconds, but I think it's important either way.
검열 버전으로 다시 할 수 있는 방법을 생각하고 계신지 아니면 이런 이슈를 혹시 지금 알고 계신지는 한번 좀 물어보고 싶었습니다.
예, 당연하게도 이 이슈에 대해서 인지를 하고 있습니다. 다만 이제 저희가 최종적으로 여러분들께 보여드리고자 하는 것은 1.0002 버전의 의상이 맞습니다. 그래서 그게 최종 프로덕트라는 것을 확실히 말씀드리고 싶고요. 다만 이제 이것이 어쨌든 유저 여러분들을 완전히 납득시켜.
And that's the problem, right? As you can see here. However, I know this answer is not enough to convince our user. Now, no matter what he says, that first costume was seen, and it was it was seen. And it's there in the 1.0 disc. At the end of the day, that's it. Whether that was not your intended intention, it should never have been there. If you did not want the community to see that skin, remove it entirely from the game, and when you're ready to add it back in with the 1.0002 patch. It's really that simple. It didn't need to be there. They could have literally just put a data mined placeholder image in there for the for the reviewers and said, look, these images aren't ready, but they're coming. They could have done anything. There's no way right now that you can come out and say that that wasn't the final product, this is the final product, but I know that our community won't believe us. They're not going to believe you. It's really that simple. You don't do this. This is like 101, right?
지금 현재 그것에 대해서 내부에서 논의 중입니다. 그래서 조만간 한번 그분에 대해서 말씀드릴 수 있는 기회가 있을 거라고 생각합니다.
So here he says, you know, they're having an internal discussion about this right now, and these are ongoing. They're losing money now, so this is how you're going to make that change. The fact is, I don't really, personally, I don't care, right? That's my stance. I'm enjoying the game. I'm having fun with the game. I've got no problem with it, right? Especially with just those two costumes. If it was a bigger change, I'd have a bigger problem. The gore is a really weird one for me, and I'm a little disappointed they took that out. So hopefully, you know, I'm more interested in them bringing the gore back than I am with the actual costumes. But the fact that now they're having internal discussions and they're going to have a response soon is interesting, because now that refunds for the game are going through, there's a bigger chance of this actually being reverted. And if it is CN related, they will have basically two versions of the game running side by side. One that is catering for a certain audience and the other for the rest of the world. But yeah, that's where we are with this right now. People are, looking for refunds. They are getting refunds, and honestly, good on people for, I guess, sticking to their guns. A lot of people are complaining and making mockery and light of the situation. You got a lot of people out there now saying this is just for 2 costumes. You guys are crazy. No. I mean, if you're doing it just for the costumes, I think that's the wrong approach. What you want to do it for is the principle. If you're doing it for the principle, you have every right to, right? Because the principle here is what matters. You paid for a product with a certain expectation, and that expectation was that everything was to be uncensored. If they really cared about those 2 outfits, they should have left them out of the game or blocked it from the reviewer's vision, because you can. All you have to do is for those 2, just put a null value next to it for the review code that's going to go out, be a digital review anyway. So creating a special review SKU that has those 2 pretty much with a null value, and let them use that one, and make it version 0.9, right? It doesn't have to be 1.0. The 1.0 could have them without the null value on it, and the 1.002 can have it with the patched version. So you'll have 3 versions: 0.9 for the review, 1.0 for retail, and 1.02 for patch. That's what they should have done. That's what I would have done. But they decided that they're going to deliver that to the reviewers, and the reviewers showcased this in their review. So people, got even more excited that it really is uncensored. And when they got it and the patch hit day 1, it became censored. And, well, the principle is you lied. That falls under fraud. And at the end of the day, people have a right to a refund. And it's, good on Sony for doing this. But the fact is, if people are refunding, then Shift Up will take note, because their bottom line is being hit. And at that point, then they'll do something about it. But I will add one more thing. For those of you cancelling your PS Plus subscription, Sony couldn't give 2 monkeys about that. Because they know 5 minutes after you posted that picture, you will have actually went back and reactivated it. And if you haven't, no one believes you. Right? Everyone knows that you went back and reactivated it. If you really want people to take note of you actually being done with PlayStation, get your PlayStation, get your phone, go to your nearest video game store or your electronic store, trade your PS5 in, get that receipt, show the receipt that you sold your PS5, because you are done with PlayStation. And if enough people do that, PlayStation will react in kind. They will take note and start changing the way they are. But the question is, how serious are you? That's the question, PlayStation folks. Are you going to vote with your wallet? Are you going to vote with your principles? Or is this just a game? That's the big question. But for those refunding the game, you have every right to do it, because you were sold a product under false pretenses. That's the video. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Remain legend.